Welcome into Orange&White Takeover. I'm Noah Caldwell. In the first week, we got cut off just a little bit because of a couple different things. You know, the Wi-Fi went down a little bit when we were in Matt's basement. There was also some furniture going on upstairs. So we moved this week down to our apartment down at the treehouse down on campus. So we're looking to change things up a little bit going into this week. So let Mike talk a little bit about himself, as Mike's going to start helping us out some, writing a couple articles, and then working with us during our podcast when one of us can't be here, and then doing some of the computer stuff too.
My name is Michael Beckham. I'm a huge Tennessee fan. I've lived here my whole life. Born and raised. Love the sport, love the game. Basketball, football, a little bit of baseball. A lot of stuff, fun stuff to talk about. Going to kind of see how things are going moving forward the fall. Really excited about Pruitt, and kind of just want to see what this year has in store.
Last week, whenever the things were going in and out, part of what we were talking about with who we are and what we aspire to be. Orange&White Takeover is a company that we came up with, me and John, last summer. It really just had to deal with the traveling aspects of going with the Vols, to the different games, worrying about the restaurants, the bars, the tailgating, the parking, and we had just felt that we had wasted a lot of time trying to find people or trying to find a place to park when you could have found that information, but it had taken hours and hours to do all that research. So we've done that research for you in the off season, and it's experiential information. It's not just, people paying us to say, hey, this is the best restaurant in this area, or us just going and looking at TripAdvisor. This is a lot of the places that we're putting in our reports as far as the different towns are places that we've either been to, or we know students at these schools that have been there, or some of the fellow Vol fans that have gone there before have gone to these places. So y'all have anything to say along those lines?
This is just kind of really the idea, and the inspiration is just being able to go to an away game and really congregate as Vol fans and have kind of a game plan and an idea going into the weekend of where you're going to be able to park, where you're going to be able to find other people on game day, or the day before if you get down early, or something to do on Sunday if you're staying the weekend, whatever. We just kind of hope to put enough information out there to give y'all options in these college towns. And as we've hit on kind of in the previous seasons, these neutral site games have been kind of fun in bigger cities. It's a different experience when you get to go to Atlanta or Charlotte and kind of check out different experiences outside of just the football in college town kind of scene.
Yeah, a lot of these towns are super cool towns. Like historic Athens is, it's a really cool town. It's basically just a college town, and you got different places like you're saying. Going to Charlotte this year, that's a place that the Vols don't usually get to go. Going down to Auburn this year, that's a rare one because of how the rotation works in the West. So all these different towns, it's nice to spend a little bit of time and actually, look and see the different things that are going on in that town, and not waste your time going to, sitting in the car trying to find a place to go park and something along those lines. So we want to make it especially apparent this year to some of the younger Vol fans. Like, some of the hardest times were when I was a freshman or a sophomore, inexperienced, going down to my first away town, not knowing what to expect and making so many rookie mistakes. We really want to reach out to those kids, we say kids because we're, just now graduating from college, but the young ones that are coming into the University of Tennessee, we really want to reach out to them and give a helping hand to figuring out, how to get the most out of your weekend to one of these towns. So to move forward, our website is finally back up and going, which is awesome. It's a mistake on my part. It gave us the option to either connect or transfer a domain. I chose to connect it when I should have transferred it. It means nothing to you all. It's back up. We've got updates on fall camp. We're going to have another story coming out later this week that Matt's been working on. So make sure to stay up to date with that, because on there you've got a tab for each one of the away towns. It's going to have all your information you need right there. It's linked to, if there's a restaurant listed there, you can click on it. It'll take you right to that restaurant's menu or something like that. So whether it's the, TripAdvisor page or their actual restaurant page or Facebook or something along those lines. So make sure you're keeping up with that. So I know one of the big things that we want to go ahead and start hitting on is Charlotte. So how are you boys feeling about the actual city of Charlotte?
Oh, getting hype. I've heard a lot of good things about Charlotte. I've personally never been for a football game, so I'm just really pumped to see the Big Orange take on that city. I know a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people in my workplace. Every time I see a UT fan, are you going to Charlotte? Every time, almost every answer is, "Oh yeah, I'll be there for sure." So that's definitely something that we want to have a lot of fun at. Find some cool places.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a big showing for the Vols, for the Orange over there, and that's going to be an important thing, especially as Pruitt kicks off his era at the University of Tennessee. I think this is going to be one of those towns that we travel to really, really well, and I think it'll be, I don't know, you think it'll be an even split between us and the West Virginia fans?
It very easily could.
I like us at least 55%.
I feel like we travel. We may travel better, but
we have a bigger fan base, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, I think that they're with the top 10 preseason rankings. I do think that they'll bring some rowdy fans, but I have faith in the Vol Nation to show up.
Absolutely. And we always, whether it's a bowl game or one of these neutral site games or even the away games, University of Tennessee has some of the best fans in the world, and they travel well even through the toughest times of the past decade. We still continue to travel well to all the different games,
Ole Miss, 34-3 drubbing.
Exactly.
And the core of the stadium is Rocky Top. And
twice it's happened in that 10 years. 2009 with Kiffin going down there and getting destroyed by Dexter McCluster. So
I was there.
Yeah, exactly. So we know what we're talking about. So, but one of the things with Charlotte that we want to go ahead and hit on is we are looking into parking right now. We want to get that information out to you all. It's looking to be tight as far as the stuff that's available online. So this may be one that we hold out and wait until the morning of the game because we like to tailgate, so we'll be out there bright and early. So we're not worried about spots or lots getting filled up. It's just figuring out which place is going to allow tailgating. It's going to allow us to park and play, a couple different games, whether it's Beersby or cornhole or something along those lines. So it's trying to find the perfect place, and it's not as easy to find it online as it was last year for Atlanta. That being said, boys, let's go ahead and move on to the actual football talk. So fall camp still going on. I know that Matt got to go to the Sunday practice, but the rest of us did not. So Matt was one there giving us a heads up of things going on. From what you all have been reading and hearing from people, how are you all feeling about the team right now?
I think that the defense is definitely coming along somewhat as I expected. I think there was still a lot of questions coming out of spring practice, but I think that as we've hit on and as many people are talking about, the three inside linebackers with some actual veteran experience in Corte Swap, Daniel Batuli, and Darren Kirkland Jr. is huge. Having Shai Tuttle and Kyle Phillips, I mean, I think that the defense and having Alontae Taylor and Bryce Thompson look like they're going to be able to at least contribute and step up early is huge. It's big news heading into a big matchup against one of the best passing offenses in the country, a top 10 matchup against West Virginia. I mean, but I think that as we harped on last week, Jeremy Pruitt is an excellent defensive coach.
Especially with the defensive backs.
Yes.
Right. And he's working with them every day in practice.
And that his preparation, I think it will give us. I think that game's going to be a great game. I really do. I think that this quarterback competition is going to be actually a little bit more exciting and close than a lot of people were thinking, and that's somewhat of an exciting aspect. I mean, it's nice to be able to say, okay, we may actually have some quality, and it's not just going to get handed over by default to one or the other. I mean, so I don't mind the competition down the stretch leading up to game one, essentially.
Yeah, and one of the things I wrote in the article that I put up last night, head over to OWTakeover.com to see that. I said, the competition is a lot closer than what it was on Sunday, but that's not because JG took a step back. He still stayed consistent. He's still making the throws that he was making last week when practice started up and then through Sunday, and he's still continuing to make those this week. It's just Chris is getting more comfortable, it seems, as the more practice that he goes through, and he's becoming more and more consistent. So if you have those two guys that are constantly pushing each other, you're going to end up with a really good quarterback and healthy quarterback competition that's going to push into week one and really bring out hopefully the best in both of those guys, where we can really put out a great quarterback whenever we come out week 1 against West Virginia. So, Mike, you weren't here last week, so which guy are you hoping wins the quarterback competition?
I did watch the first podcast, so I did kind of catch up on some things. Heard you guys were talking about. I am excited to see what Chris can do.
Not Christ.
Keller is he's obviously got the credentials to play well for us, but I've heard some things. Maybe he's not the best big time playmaker. So that's something we can see moving forward. But also we've never seen Garantano to do either. So
one thing that was surprising to me coming out of camp is that Chris doesn't have the best arm, which I'd have thought a guy that big, listed at 6'5", 240, something along those lines. You'd think a guy like that has a lot of body to throw into his passes, but they're saying the one thing that is clear cut is that Garantano has a much better arm than Keller Chris does. So that will be something that develops, as John was hinting at last week. It looks like Helton's offense is going to be predicated a lot on the vertical passing game. So if Chris can't get the ball there, that is going to be something that hinders him, especially in this new offense that we're looking, the pro style or whatever you want to call it that Helton's bringing, because we still don't know. It may hinder him that. But right now, I like where we're at. Going still with the offense, the reports out of camp today were a little bit different than what has been reported, all the way up until today's practice with the running backs. Chandler today received the first team reps, which is probably good to see, but considering Jeremy Banks is still your 4th or 5th string running back, and we know that he's at least physically gifted for a true freshman.
Sure.
Yeah, that means you've got a bunch of guys, a lot of quality depth, where if one guy goes down, somebody else can step up, and you can split the carries between these guys so that they're staying fresh. And I know that's something John has pointed out, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a huge point that Helton and Pruitt have both really talked about, is that it's going to be, this offense is not going to be as much scheme based as it's going to be personnel based. I saw essentially the analogy Fulmer's line was, it's not about the X's and O's, it's more about the Jimmies and Joes. So I think that Helton is going to utilize the personnel that he has on offense in the best positions, and obviously utilize their attributes. I mean, you're not going to try and just slam Ty Chandler down the middle 8 times in a row. So right. I think that he's going to get him and be a scat back, but Ty Chandler can run between the tackles. So
as we saw against Kentucky last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in his interviews, Helton has repeatedly talked about being a multiple offense, and that we are going to have options based on our strengths and weaknesses, as well as our opponent each week's strengths and weaknesses. So I think that having that ability and balance, I love that, and I think that it's a good thing moving forward. And I love coaches that have that mindset recruiting, because they're going to recruit with that mindset as well. So I think, as I harped on last week, I know we keep reiterating things, but I'm so excited about this coaching staff. I think that you will continue to see just honestly fruition. But this is getting excited. Of course, we're rolling up to the season, and the hype train's beginning to roll. We're getting reports from fall practice. We're to the first full pads practice, but we do have to take everything into consideration that this is this coaching staff's first year. They've only had one offseason to install completely new offensive and defensive schemes. I mean, and the class was good. It was solid that we brought in, and right. we may end up having a couple guys that are going to contribute, but it wasn't earth shattering. So this is still going to be a year that is going to be a lot of tough games and a lot of tough competition, and that's going to be we're gonna know a lot about this coaching staff and this team moving forward by the end of the year. But there's going to be some bumps and bruises and some along the way, in my opinion.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I think another one of the good things coming out of camp, whenever we're talking about the positives, let's just stick with the positives, and then we can go into the negatives after that. Dominic Wood-Anderson has looked, and apparently to the coaching staff has looked exactly like he was supposed to, coming in here. ever since he's gotten into fall practice, he's been working with the ones, and there's been no real competition there, which is a great thing for the Vols, considering, as for the tight ends last year, yes, Ethan Wolf was a consistent guy, but he never had more than, 350 yards in a season, something along those lines. To be able to have a consistent pass catcher that can block at that position, and then throw in the depth there, too, with Eli and Austin Pope and some of those other guys, that position can now become a strength to go along with a probably improved offensive line.
Yes. I think that most people are assuming that hopefully that's going to be the case with coaching coming back from injury and another year of development and maturation. I think if not, then we better do some damn good recruiting.
It won't be as much plug and play this year. I think everyone's really going to be ready to go, strap on the helmets, and really get out there and hit somebody instead of
and that's a good point.
Last year.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It did seem like it was a plug and play type mold last year because of the injuries and different things that happened throughout the season. This year, Will Friend is cross-training every single one of these offensive linemen to be able to go in and play wherever they're needed. Unlike last year where you had guys that have been practicing all the time at tackle that now need to play guard, or the other way around, or those kinds of things. So you've got right now, just at the tackle position, Trey Smith, Drew Richmond, Chance Hall, Marcus Tatum. You can throw Carvin in that conversation too, as all five of those guys being quality offensive tackles that can play that position. But at the same time, we already know Trey Smith can play guard. Don't know about Drew Richmond, but, I'm assuming that they're still trying to work them there. Chance Hall played a little bit of right guard early on in his career. You probably will not put Tatum on the inside as he is too thin for that, but you can use those guys. They're going to put the best five guys out there. And what do you all think right now is going to be those five guys? Let's assume Chance Hall and Trey Smith are both going to be ready to go week one.
I'll take Trey Smith at tackle. I like him there. I don't know. Just maybe Drew Richmond has really improved this year, but just consistency throughout his career has been an issue. And from what just this is totally a me thing, and not honestly, shout out to Drew. I mean, he's a great kid, great player at the unit. I'm glad he's here, but he's underperformed in my opinion. And I think that you'll have definitely Brandon Kennedy at center. At the left guard, I think that it will probably be Carvin. I like his size and physicality, but a freshman coming in, I'm not sure if Will Friend and the coaching staff will end up going with him. I definitely think that Hall will be in the starting five. I don't know that I like him playing tackle again coming off of an injury, but he may be forced to do so. So if he ends up at tackle, then right guard is really going to be a competition, probably between guys like Riley Locklear, Ryan Johnson, and then maybe I'm trying to think who we had the other size. You do have Crosby flipping over from D-line, so that you have to.
Calvert is one that I'm interested in because that guy is 330 pounds coming off of. He redshirted his first year, correct? Yeah,
because he had a knee injury before the season started. I think that if he can contribute in that size, then I think that maybe Chance Hall starts game one at right tackle, and maybe that's the best combination because it has been hard. It's been repeated that Tatum is not the biggest guy, and in the SEC, you're going to be facing some of the top defensive ends in the entire country. So, I guess I like Trey Smith to start, and then I'll take. I think they may honestly throw Richmond at guard just because, but they may with the power running game, they may stick with Trey Smith at guard. But I like Trey Smith at tackle, Richmond, Kennedy, and then put either Carvin or Ryan Johnson at guard, and then Hall at tackle.
Now, if you're asking me as far as if you want Trey Smith at that left tackle, I would almost just move Richmond to the other tackle because that's where he's been working with. Yeah. And then just fill in the blanks there in the middle.
Yeah, right. That. I agree with that.
Mike, what would you think is your starting 5 offensive linemen?
I would say I get a little muddy when it comes to the guards sometimes with some of those guys.
Kennedy's probably going to end up being your center.
Yeah.
You got – where would you put Trey Smith?
I'm gonna put Trey Smith. Depending, is Calicut right-handed or left-handed?
Right. Most quarterbacks are right-handed.
So then I would probably I want to put Trey Smith on the left tackle probably more than likely, just because he is proved to be our toughest guy out there.
Right.
He's just played amazing as a true freshman last year, and coming back healthy as ever is going to be really exciting for at least the first few games, just to kind of see how everything's looking up front.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I think you got to go then on that guard on that side. You got probably Johnson, Ryan Johnson, or Chance Hall, one of those guys, depending on how you're going to try to fit all those guys in there. Carvin could be another guy that could come in there with the starting group. Now, if I'm going on just what I would want, it'd be what I was saying earlier. I would go Trey Smith as my left tackle, Drew Richmond as my right tackle. Yeah. And then I would fill in from there Brandon Kennedy at center, Ryan Johnson, and probably Chance Hall. But what I think will actually happen, I think you're going to go Drew Richmond, Trey Smith, Brandon Kennedy, Ryan Johnson, and probably Tatum is what if I had to guess, that's what they would do at first. I think they're going to want to see a little bit out of Chance Hall before thrusting him into the starting group again because – I mean, he missed 2 full seasons, didn't he? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to want to see something from him. And we don't know. Trey Smith doesn't get to start participating in
that's what I was going to
full contact until the 19th or 20th. So that only gives him
2 weeks-ish.
11 to 14 days, somewhere in that range, to get ready for week 1. So it'll be an interesting one going forward. Another position group that I'm ecstatic about right now, the trio of Darren Kirkland Jr., Daniel Batuli, and Corte Sapp is incredible. I mean, and the fact that you got Willie not sitting back there that's going to have a hard time trying to find playing time unless somebody goes down. I mean, those 3 guys could start for almost any team in the SEC, maybe outside of Alabama, Then you look at the outside, Darrell Taylor, Jonathan Kongbo, Austin Smith, and there's somebody else I'm forgetting. Who's the other one?
Shannon Reed
got moved a little bit into inside linebacker this week. I did see that.
He did.
There's somebody else, though, that I'm not thinking about that is also a pretty solid outside linebacker. See if we can find it real quick. So Jordan Allen.
Yeah.
Jordan Allen has shown a lot coming in from the JUCO ranks. So those 7 guys right there.
Still no Dylan Bates.
Still knows the same old story that we've heard. It's not Butch's fault. Intern. But I think that's going to be the position group along with the safeties that leads this defense. Who?
Peterson.
Yeah, he's been on the roster. No J.J. Peterson update. Again, we're not the breaking news guys. We're not trying to.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting. Like, obviously, he'll need a year in the strength and conditioning program. But, I mean, at 230, I mean, that's decent college size. With his athleticism, being a top 50 player coming in, right? I mean, to see if he starts the year repping inside with the depth that he has in front of him, or if they possibly look to utilize him at outside to really bolster Kongbo and Darrell Taylor. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, have they really talked? I'm sure that they've been avoiding much talk about J.J. Peterson. Have you seen anything along those lines yet?
No, they won't comment on that until he's on campus and they see him go through stuff. I assume he's supposed to be inside, but again, with the 3 guys that we got there right now, it may be best for that and let him go on the campus late, red shirt, go through practice this fall, and get ready to go for the next 3 to 4 years. Sticking with positivity, let's go with the safeties. Right now, you got 5 guys back there. There is one negative note, and there are some reports coming out that Nigel Warrior's having a hard time grasping some of the defensive concepts, which is putting him a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to the safeties. Yes, that sucks because he's probably top 2 or 3 most talented guys, if not the most talented guy on the defensive side of the ball. But if it's a mental thing, maybe it just takes a little bit extra time to get going. And luckily, safety is a position where we have some depth. I am surprised as heck right now at what we're hearing about Todd Kelly Jr. I mean, from what they're saying is this is the best that he's looked in his 5 years here. He looks completely, healed and ready to go from what held him out last fall through spring practice. They say he looks quicker than he ever has. I mean, that's some really good things to be hearing coming out about him. Mike Abernathy, is that right? Mm-hmm. Back there. He's looked consistent. You don't really hear anything. Anytime that you hear or don't hear anything about one of the presumed starters, I take that as a good thing. Especially in the thing like Sundays type thing. Talking about Balin Buchanan at the corner position. Didn't hear or see anything from him, but he was out there on the opposite side of the freshman, which means he was doing a pretty good job of covering up whichever receivers over there, considering the quarterback didn't even look and had to throw it to the other side of the field. He got intercepted by Taylor a couple times, Thompson once. So anytime with any of those starters that you don't hear anything, that's usually a pretty good indication of how things are going with him. Theo Jackson, Shimmer, the other two that are balling out back there, especially as backups. So safety is a position that has a bunch of depth, and if Warrior can slowly come along and figure that out, yes, we love him on the field week one, but if it takes a little bit extra time, at least this is a position where we got some extra people back there.
Malik Gray switching to wide receiver.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was from Pruitt's comments, sounded like something that one or multiple of the coaches were recruiting him out of the high school and never saw him as a defensive back. So at least I can understand that as a guy that they knew already coming from the recruiting aspect.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I like the length and size and athleticism that he gives at wide receiver just in the coming years. I mean, and honestly, as we've talked about, well, we can not getting it too early into the negatives, but the possibility of pushing a group that is possibly needing a little bit of motivation during fall camp is the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
And we can go ahead and head into the negatives, and wide receivers is going to be one of those because right now you've got a clear split of 5 guys that are not head and shoulders above the rest, but are steadily doing what's right during practice, whatever. Yes, the biggest thing with the wide receivers right now is that drops are plaguing all of them, and that's a bad thing. And it's not just your lesser guys. It's Marquez Callaway's having a hard time. Brandon Johnson's having a hard time. Juwan Jennings is going through about half the drills is what they're still saying as he's trying to get his legs back under him as he's not practiced in over, a year. But the guys of Jennings, Brandon Johnson, Marquez Callaway, Josh Palmer, and then the rest of the guys, are just sitting paddling along almost is just to sit and go through the reps, and they're trying to get better, but there's a clear talent differential between those first 5 guys and the guys after them.
It's still so interesting to me. It's like Tyler Bird's career, just so much promise and excitement getting here and on campus, and then finally, deciding to throw him on the offensive side of the ball and look at what the direction that's started his career in. I mean, and now this coaching staff gave him a look at DB, but still now, lost in the depth chart at wide receiver. I mean, honestly, until we get really solid and satisfied with our depth at corner, I still remember that just watching that Army All-American game and the kid can play. I mean, but I'm sure, I trust his coaching staff to get the best 11 on the field on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sticking with the negatives. I also have to throw in the defensive line. It's, again, one of those things where there's just not a whole lot of depth. You got 3 guys that are pretty good that are going to start with Alexis Johnson, Shy Tuttle, and Kyle Phillips. Outside of that, you got, Kingston Harris. Is that his name?
Yep.
He's come in and he's a big boy, but obviously as a true freshman playing defensive tackle, we've seen very few guys come in and be able to start in that position, especially in a 3-4 defense, and be able to succeed. Emmett Gooden shows flashes, and then he shows bad flashes at the same time. So that's going to be one of those guys that, Emerson, all those guys, Kevon Bennett, Matthew Butler, all those guys are trying to work to help us achieve some depth at that position. But it is definitely going to be one of those where
another one name to not watch out for. I think John Mincy may get some playing time this season. I think, but yeah, I mean, with the move of Kongbo to linebacker, we are searching for essentially some depth at the end positions as well as the defensive tackle.
Don't forget about Paul Bain.
Yes, the Georgia Tech savior.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that we're at what, fall camp day 5.
Yeah, so today was practice 5. This was the first one in full pads.
Yeah, so I mean, we still have a lot of time to see. I mean, almost a whole month. Yeah, almost a month to continue development. I mean, obviously, this is game time. This is crunch time. But I do think that we'll continue to see development, and I think that the balls will come out ready to play. And I think
I would agree.
on September 1st,
This coaching staff will have them ready to play.
Yeah.
And I think that the added SEC Nation announced this week that they were going to be there. I think that
Okay. Who really cares about SEC Nation at this point? This is something me and a coworker talk about. It's basically just, Kmart version of College Game Day.
Game
Day.
And it's
Right.
in year 4 or 5 now. Yes, the initial shininess of it was kind of cool, but
Right.
it's not going to draw any more fans over to Charlotte, is it?
No.
No, right?
Not necessarily, but I mean, it's more of just the media coverage, honestly.
Yeah, the media
Right.
coverage does help some, but at the same time, the only people watching, SEC Nation is your local fans, anyways. As far
Right,
as the
yeah.
Southeast.
Yes.
I mean,
Okay,
nobody
yeah.
from up north is gonna be
Yeah,
like, let me just
of
go
course.
watch because they all hate us and we all hate them.
Right. Exactly.
Or Mars should be fired. Let's continue on. Anything else y'all want to throw on with fall camp before we move on to the next subject?
I'm just really excited to see Jonathan Kongbo move positions, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even with the last 2 years, him moving him around a lot, he's a big body. But being the middle linebacker,
Is it outside?
he's doing outside.
Yeah.
Okay, so as an outside, then if he's able to get his legs under him and able to really move, he can freaking knock somebody's head off.
Yeah.
And that is something that I'm really excited to see. Yet to see it. But
I
moving
think-
forward, I really want to, and I think he's going to be something that's going to be able to.
The thing that
Yeah,
has
for us.
been that I've read and heard is that Congo looks great physically, athletically, but that playing defensive line for the majority of his career, it's going to be a technique thing.
Oh, right,
It's
exactly.
just, it's not going. He's going to have to really get in and grind and because it's not easy to pick up. Going from a pass rushing position to a position where you're going to be playing zone and man coverage
Right.
and have different keys on every play,
Mhm.
audibles. I mean, and sometimes splitting out on receivers. I mean, it's a whole different ball game. So
Right.
I'm sure that he's going to have some growing pains, but I do again and again, I'm trusting that this coaching staff that they like just the gifts and again, I think that this coaching staff is sees that they're
Mhm.
going to try and give the players on the team the best chance with their abilities to produce the maximal amount on the field.
Right. And I think with Pruitt out there as our new head coach, that guy, he knows how to coach defense. And really, what I'm excited about is to see the Big Orange tackle well again. It's been a good 9 years maybe since
a reminder of Joe Adams returning the punt on us from Arkansas.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly.
Breaking 17 tackles.
Must we mention that once again? And
Always.
and growing up as a kid, I saw Tennessee. Man, they would hit people. They would hit them so hard. I thought their helmet would pop off most of the time, and now they're just
They
like,
did.
yeah.
I mean, Eric Berry laying some hits. Jansen Jackson
Exactly.
coming across
Jansen
on that.
Jackson. I think he might have been the
slant
last
pattern.
one.
Yeah. Jansen Jackson probably was the last one to lay the wood, like some of those guys.
Simon, Kevin
Yeah.
Burnett growing up,
Kevin Simon, yeah.
I mean, if you talk about just some of those linebackers,
Rico McCoy.
Rico
Oh,
McCoy,
Rico.
Gerard Mayo. I mean, all those guys were just
I
in your
think-
face. I'm going to bury you 6 feet deep whenever I make this hit on you.
And I really think that this defense has. It's looking good, like you said, growing pains. But I think that this defense could be something like that we're talking about.
I mean,
right now.
Hey, hot take last week.
Uh,
Top 5 SEC defense.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm telling you, boys.
Exactly.
I
It
like
could
it.
be.
I like
It
it.
could be.
So as we transition into the next subject, let's go with SEC standings. Predicted SEC standings. SEC Media Day was a couple weeks ago, but we never really got into the pecking order of what we each thought. John, I'll let you go ahead and kind of give me what you're thinking. Start with the East, and then actually start with the West, and then go to the East.
Well, we'll go with the obvious. We'll work top to bottom. Bama. And then, honestly, a lot of people are high on Mississippi State with the influx of Jim Moorhead as head coach, and got a great recruiting class and momentum thus far. A lot of talent returning, but I just don't know that I'm that high on them yet. I'll probably go with Auburn finishing number 2, Mississippi State 3, LSU at 4. I like Jimbo to go finish next. Honestly, I think that he'll compete with A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss. Boy, who's going to be the cellar dweller? I think, well, it's you got Matt Luke and what's the offensive coordinator from SMU?
Chad Morris.
Chad Morris, yeah. At Arkansas, who's going to have the better first year?
Matt Luke technically had his first year last year.
Yes, agreed. But first year as an actual permanent head coach moving forward. I guess Ole Miss had a pretty decent recruiting class. I'll go with Ole Miss. I like
Ole Miss. Supposedly, for national writers, Ole Miss has one of the best receiving corps in the entire country this year.
So, I mean,
Jordan Tiamu is a pretty solid quarterback too.
Honestly, I mean, I may have underestimated the Rebels, but I'll stick them in there at 6 and Arkansas to finish 7th, and then our own division, the East. I'll regrettably say that Georgia's probably going to win this year. I like South Carolina, honestly, to finish 2nd.
Wow.
I think that Muschamp has that program moving in the right direction.
We'll see if McClendon ends up being the right choice for the offensive coordinator. As he's trying to bring in that Oregon pace to their offense, which can be scary.
Yes, it can have great results and can have terrible results.
Yes.
3rd, I don't know. I almost want to say the Vols, just because I really am thinking that we're gonna have seven wins at least, and then I don't think that Missouri. So I'll go Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida. I'll give actually the edge to the Wildcats. I'll go Kentucky, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. I mean, maybe I'm just hating on Drew Lock and Derek Dooley, but I just don't.
Get your sandwich right.
Exactly. Got to order the sandwich the way it comes. But I don't know. Unless Derek Dooley has become an offensive genius.
He's always been a genius.
And Drew Lock has learned how to throw something other than a deep fade or the deep ball incredibly well. I just don't see them being I don't know. Maybe I'm way off. I really could be.
Don't talk about a historian like that. Derek Dooley knows more about our U.S. history than a lot of the high school teachers around here. That article this week, he's talking about the Louisiana Purchase and some other stuff. I'm like, why does he always bring up random stuff? Where's Rommel?
Where's Rommel?
Yeah.
Rommel.
Can't find him. Mike, what are you thinking?
All right, I'm gonna go with the West first, like you said. Obviously Alabama. I mean, everybody knows that with Tua out there. He'll be starting for sure. Jalen Hurts will not be playing.
Crybaby?
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna be a crybaby. I bet he'll play some. But moving forward from that, Auburn in the 2 spot. Auburn's looking good. They looked good last year. I think that they're only going to get better.
Some, though.
They did lose some. But they definitely were better than I expected last year.
Stidham returning is huge.
Yes.
The loss of Kerryon Johnson will hurt.
Yeah. Right. And then their defense also lost some playmakers. So we'll see how they recover on the defensive side of the ball, which carried them at some points when Stidham was struggling.
Absolutely.
My 3rd position, I kind of struggle with. I really don't want to put LSU there, but I think I might have to.
Giving Ed Orgeron a little bit of props.
I really shouldn't. Oh no, I can't do. I really don't want to put them in 3, but I almost have to, considering everybody else. Arkansas is my 4th spot.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Arkansas is going to come out a little hotter this year than last year, and
a little hotter than 3-9 or whatever they went last year.
I think they could definitely come back this year.
His final straw was.
Yeah. After that, I really was trying to put in a 4th spot between Miss State and Arkansas, but I think Arkansas might win one more game. From there, Ole Miss. I'm really not a big Ole Miss guy.
Mississippi State
Last but not least, A&M going to last this year.
Jimbo gets $10 million to finish last in the West.
I think it's going to happen. They're just not going to be as hot this
So,
coming
Mike,
year.
you taking Northwestern State over A&M week 1?
Yes. Get it.
It's the first game of the year, August 30th, that Thursday night.
Money down.
In the East, obviously Georgia. Georgia's going to be a force to reckon with. I don't think Tennessee. I don't think they're going to match up well against them this year. But
Record-setting 5 stars in the freshman class.
Yeah.
Plus, coming off, just a national championship visit.
yeah, it's. I just consider in the point of Eason to Fromm, and Fromm just stepped in and made Eason look like garbage.
May happen again this year.
Yeah, we never know that exactly.
Fields coming in.
getting
Right,
the
exactly.
Opportunity with Fromm.
If Fromm continues to go out on the lake,
Yeah.
he may be doing it.
And second, I really don't want to put this pick, but I think Florida's going to be in the 2nd spot in the SEC this year.
I don't know. We'll see.
I think they go 9-4 this year. But
I hope not.
I really hope not either, but I think it could happen. Going from there, I'm kind of agreeing with John with South Carolina being up there, but I'm putting him in 3rd. With Muschamp really building something special down there. Jake Bentley playing like a beast. And
Bentley a senior this year?
He's a junior or senior. I think he's a junior. I think, he's a junior because 2016 was his freshman year.
that's right.
So he's only a junior this year.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
So.
Because he was the old classic, should be at his high school homecoming.
Check out this guy. Should be playing his senior year of high school. Cool.
Well, yeah, exactly. 17-year-old little boy.
I should have graduated by now.
Exactly. Moving forward from there, Tennessee in 4. Tennessee in the 4th place, mostly because I can't have Dooley ahead of Tennessee in a spot in my lineup.
Shower etiquette.
Moving from there, Missouri's gonna be in 5th, and then Kentucky and Vandy. So
All right.
Well, my lists are a little bit different than y'all's. Number 1 in the West, Bama. We've all said it. I can just reiterate if you want to hear an echo in here. 2, Mississippi State. I'm high on them. Joe Moorhead comes in. Obviously, Dan Mullen looks like Butch the intern, Jones 2.0 down there in Florida. So, no guns on the team, right? Yeah, no guns, but you teach them about guns. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. That guy doesn't know what he's doing down there. But without getting too much into that, I would take right now as a pick for the Heisman, I'd take Nick Fitzgerald at whatever he is at. If it's anywhere bigger than 20-1, 25-1, I would take that in a heartbeat because I think that kid may have a special season this year coming off of that with a broken ankle in the Egg Bowl last year.
Yeah.
A pretty nasty injury. After that, I do have Auburn. I think Auburn's still going to be a solid team. I think they take a step back from last year. Just seemed like a team that was disinterested at times, but at the same time beat both the teams that were in the national championship. So that'll be an interesting one watching go forward this year. I think they lost a decent amount, and it always seems that Gus Malzahn coaches his best when he needs a contract.
yes,
He got his contract. So that'll be an interesting one watching through this year. 4, I got A&M. I do think Jimbo's going to come in there and do a little bit of his Jimbo magic. An excellent week 2 matchup, even though it has nothing to do with the conference standings as Clemson goes into College Station. Kyle Field will be an interesting one to watch week 2. After that, I got LSU. That one could jump up a lot if Joe Burrows, the transfer from Ohio State, ends up being a really good quarterback because when you think of LSU in the last 20 years, The one thing that they're always missing is quarterback play. And in a year where they don't have a running back like Geis or Fournette or Jeremy Hill, they need a quarterback to step up and actually take a little bit of the weight off of the running backs this year. After that, I got Ole Miss. They'll be solid. They may get to 6-6. I have them, if they beat Texas Tech week 1, I have them getting to 6-6 and making a bowl game. And last but not least, I got Arkansas. There's just not a whole lot of positivity coming out of that program right now. They're going to have a hard time getting to 6-6. So when it comes to the East, got Georgia at top. I'm not sure that they're going to go undefeated. They may, but it'll be a tough one. They do draw Auburn just like they do every year, just like we draw Alabama. They do have Auburn again this year. And South Carolina is going to be a tougher matchup this year. 2, I got South Carolina. I agree with John. I think this is a step forward for Muschamp. And I think the McClendon thing may end up working in their favor. 3rd, I got the University of Florida. I think that they're going to struggle at first. I still have us beating Florida. I think they really turn it on. I think they grab a late win against South Carolina and Missouri to help them boost them into that 3rd position. 4th, I got Missouri. I do think they have enough talent on the offensive end, even enough to where Dooley doesn't mess it up, where they still can come in 4th just in front of us. Have us still at 6-6 this year. Maybe feeling a little bit more optimistic than that at this point, but that's still where I have us, followed by Kentucky and Vandy. I got Vandy going about 2-10 or 3-9 this year. So it's an interesting way to look at it. All of us had slightly different things and different teams that we are high and low on. Obviously, Mike doesn't think much of A&M. John and Mike both are iffy about Mississippi State, while I'm way up on them. John and I are high on South Carolina. Mike is not. So there's always different things where people think different things of different teams, and it's interesting to look back at the end of the year to see who was right about.
I mean, and one of the biggest things that is huge right now is that the landscape in college football shifted with the coaching changes in the SEC this offseason. So this is going to be a really interesting football season for the SEC with how many new coaches? All right, just top to bottom. I mean,
Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State. Those are the 4.
We won't call Ole Miss a new coach.
Right, but
what about Florida?
Then on the east side, you got Tennessee, Florida,
Kentucky, and Vandy.
They're the same. Georgia. So you got
Missouri
6 new.
Is the same head coach.
Correct? Yeah. So you got 6 guys right now that are new in the SEC out of 14 teams. That's almost replacing half the coaches.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's not even just the quantity, it's the quality, because it like prior to this offseason, you would likely say that the concentration of really high quality football coaches would probably, you would say, in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Having James Franklin, Urban Meyer, Harbaugh.
Look at the jokesters that were in the SEC last year. Butch Jones, Shark Humper down at Florida. You can go through the list. Pat Belima kept parties in business over there. You can go through the line. You just had idiot after idiot that had the talent, and that's why they were competing.
Right.
But at the end of the day, Butch Jones couldn't coach himself out of I don't know what the term is there, but
he could coach himself into a loss.
Yes, exactly. And it's now, and that's why you always during the coaching rankings you would see the guys. I mean, Harbaugh obviously is way overrated at this point, as we're saying. But usually you would see the Big Ten would have the best coaches along with the ACC. But now the SEC is starting to catch on to, hey, we got the best recruits in our backyard for the most part. If we can get some coaches to go out there and coach them up and develop them, it's going to continue to be an SEC dominance for the foreseeable future.
Agreed.
So, y'all have anything else you want to throw in with the SEC rankings?
I cannot wait until Georgia and Bama are not basic locks for.
Agreed.
Well, Saban's going to have to retire and Kirby's going to have to kill over. So maybe, just maybe, we can avoid, Georgia if Saban retires and Kirby wants to jump back over there. But I think there's a better chance of Pruitt.
Yeah, unless Pruitt steps up.
And Pruitt does well here.
I don't.
I'm
think
excited.
So. I think that Pruitt would like to make his once he is if he truly establishes a program and a name for himself here. I don't think that he would turn his back on this SEC program to go to Alabama after playing them for however long his tenure is. If he truly this becomes his program under Philip Fulmer, I would not see that career move.
Well, let's just take one of you all as an example. You grew up a Tennessee fan. Let's say you went on to coach collegiate football, and in your 40s you started coaching the University of Alabama, who was struggling. And after 7 years, let's just say 7 years, you've not won a national championship, but you've made it to one, and you're consistently having 9+ win seasons. Tennessee fires their lifelong coach who's won, 5-6 national championships. Are you going to jump ship from Alabama, the team you hated as a child?
Oh, exactly.
It's just you got to think of it from a personal perspective too. Yes, and none of us know. It was the same thing with Kiffin. Kiffin was younger. I think it helps that Pruitt will be at an older age by the time the Saban's retired. You're not going to have a young guy like Kiffin that's like, oh, heck, there's my dream job. I wanted this job as a kid. I'm going right now while I can take it. So I do think it helps that he does seem more level-headed and that he is in a much more mature state of mind than what Kiffin was at during that time. But an interesting thing to think about, nevertheless. So,
right.
I think we're going to push off until next week talking about which fan base is the worst in the SEC, because I want to spend some time with that, because I cannot wait to dog some Georgia fans.
Agreed, Georgia fans.
After taking an L to Bush and coming and barking at me. Really? But one thing we do want to go ahead and hit on is with the towns that we travel to this year, there's some really cool things going on. So if you look at each town that we're going to, in Charlotte that first week, you've got a ton going on between Brad Paisley, Kane Brown on Friday night. You got the game on Saturday. It's Labor Day weekend, so you have an extra day to do whatever you want. You got Carowinds. It's one of the best theme parks in this part of the country. And a ticket to the theme park gets you into their water park, too, as it's its last day or next to last day that the water park's going to be open, too. So that's a cool thing that you can do while you're over there. Then you think the next away game is Georgia. The Falcons play the next day after the Georgia game, so there's different things that are happening in all these cities. You go down to Auburn the next day, you got Talladega and the postseason for NASCAR. You go over to South Carolina, I believe there's a Panthers game that's going on. Charlotte and Columbia are decently close. I mean, they're not right next to each other by any, at all. But it is something else that's going on. And then you got Thanksgiving weekend over in Nashville where the Preds are playing on Friday night. And then the really cool thing is that we're partnering up for that Vanderbilt game with Honky Tonk Party Express, which John's brother is a partial owner of that, which is a really, really cool party bus type ordeal that goes up and down Broadway and kind of wherever you want them to go over in Nashville. As their TripAdvisor rating right now, number 2 out of all the tourism type events in Nashville. So it's a really cool thing, and it's a cool thing that they're going to help us with it, and we're hoping to help them in the same time. So there's just a lot going on this year. There's a lot of cool things. This is a really good time to get involved with the Traveling with the Balls. This is one of the best decisions I've made during my collegiate life to travel for these games. Is you see things that you never really could have even thought about growing up as a Tennessee fan. If you're in middle school, high school, once you get here and start going to those things, it's some of the best experiences that I've had in my life. And I know y'all would agree.
Oh yeah.
So I think at least one of us is going to go to every away game, so feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to see you all there. We'll have tailgates where, especially for the away games, home games not as much, but away games, we'll have tailgates where y'all can swing through. I mean, we'll have games and stuff going on, and it'll be a big fun ordeal, and it always is. Tailgating is one of the best parts about football season. So one other thing I wanted to bring up with y'all is I've not even told these two about it yet, but I've started an Orange&White Takeover SEC Fantasy Football League. I don't know which of these guys will join with me, but we want to open up the invitation to you all. It'll be a 10-team league because anything you get past 10 teams, there's only 14 teams in the SEC with at most 4 teams on bye at once. So there's only 10 quarterbacks to go around at that point. So we'll do a 10-team league. It'll be just a cool thing. We'll probably do a $10 to $20 buy-in, and it'll be just something that you keep up with week to week, and that'll give you a chance to compete with the rest of us. We'll also do some kind of pick 'em challenge each week where y'all can compete against the 5 guys of Orange&White Takeover, and at the end of the year, we'll see who the champion is by win percentage. And then one last thing I want to bring up is there's a flag football league out in West Knoxville that we compete in. Orange&White Takeover guys actually have a team in it. they're currently looking for a couple teams to join in there. So it's a really cool thing. It's just Sunday afternoon. If you still want to play, some flag football, get out there, throw the ball around. It's not super competitive, but there are some good teams out there. So we just want to throw that out there for y'all.
Wear cleats.
Yeah, and feel free to shoot us a DM or an email, owtakeover@gmail.com, if you have any questions about any of those things. We'll be posting it on our website and on our Twitter page. So, y'all have anything else you'd like to throw in here? Any news, comments, personal stuff?
Get swifty, boys.
Yes, get swifty. There's nothing else going on.
I think, you know what? Just everybody keep your eyes peeled on fall camp on our Twitter feed, on the website. We'll have some more articles up. Hope to see whoever joined in this week, back next week. As always, this is Orange and White Takeover.
Yeah, and we'll have the audio up of this too. The full video will be up on YouTube, and we'll get the audio version up too, just like last week. Share with your friends. Make sure that if people, like we said, we want to get involved with the freshmen and sophomores at the University of Tennessee and the other local colleges around here that travel for the balls. Is we know how hard it can be, especially at first, especially if it's just you and one other person going. A group of two can be fun, but there's also other things that you can get into with a group of people. So, I'm Noah Caldwell.
John Broyles here.
Michael Beckham. Thanks for making me feel welcome, everybody.
Absolutely. Signing off with O&W Takeover. Go Vols.
Go Vols.
Go Vols.
There we go.
I'm turning on the AC.